Despite the media's and state's insistence that there's no such thing as the deep state, there's never been better proof of the deep state existing than federal employees admitting that they plan to actively fight and undermine the incoming Trump administration. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. A couple weeks ago, I shared with you all an article written by a couple of lawyers over at The Hill who put together what they claimed was a sound plan to keeping Trump out of the White House and urged lawmakers to take action on it immediately. There's been a lot of hullabaloo around Trump, obviously, and his claims about the deep state, but anyone who has ever heard of the NSA or FISA courts or Edward Snowden or has any knowledge of the Russia hoax or the Hunter Biden laptop or even thinks an alphabet agency did Kennedy, because they did, or knows anything about Operation Mockingbird or Operation Paperclip or MK Ultra or any number of things from American history that I could spit at you, then you could probably say with confidence that there is, in fact, a deep state. The way two administrations went after Trump so hard is also proof enough, but if none of that satisfies you, how about a survey in which nearly half of federal workers claimed they would be using their positions to actively resist Trump? Now, before I get into the details here, this video is brought to you with the help of Urban Chic. First of all, look at how gorgeous this bag is. It has a beautiful leather construction, is super sturdy, comes in all kinds of fun or understated designs if that is more your jam, but will also work to help keep your loved ones safe. Looking at it, you also wouldn't guess that this bag is bulletproof right here with level 3A protection. Every bag, tote, and purse is made with the latest DuPont Kevlar technology to help make your life safer and do it in style. Now, I picked this one because it's loud, and I am loud, but they have all kinds of other options for an everyday accessory that is also easy to use in an emergency situation, bringing you and your loved ones peace of mind. And however they get the Kevlar in there, this bag is way lighter than you would think, so don't even worry about being weighed down. Now, the folks over at Urban Chic were also kind enough to offer my viewers a discount. Use code INFLUENCE2025 for 10% off your purchase at the link down in the description. Now, back to this survey. So the survey in question was conducted by RMG Research, a seasoned pollster, and commissioned by the Napolitan Institute, another pollster whose website talks about exposing the elite 1%. What they found was a little bit more concerning. See, RMG Research conducted 3 surveys in mid-December to study 3 different segments of Americans. First, the elite 1%, which they defined as people with postgraduate degrees who live in cities and earn more than $150,000 a year. Then, what they call Main Street Americans, which are exactly that, everyday average American people, which they say is about 75% of the population, and federal government managers, meaning Fed employees who live in and around DC and earn at least $75,000 a year. Their sample size was 1,000 each of elite and average Americans and 500 federal managers. This last group is the one that we're going to pay the most attention to here because when it comes to the other groups, no matter their voting status or their beliefs on freedom in America, the elites think we have too much of it, by the way, they both generally agreed that they would support the incoming Trump administration even if they'd voted for Harris. Of course, Democrats said that they would support less often than conservatives, and most of the elites voted Democrat, which we can expect, but accepting election results was the general consensus among those groups, even though the Main Street American group also said that they don't have much faith in the government, and same. Though I guess I fall into the Main Street American category. It turns out that that lack of faith is pretty solid, and with good reason. While 44% of federal employees said that they would at least try to somewhat support the Trump administration, 42% said that they would actively resist it. That's almost half. Specifically, 73% of Democratic voters who work for the federal government told RMG that they planned to resist Trump and his administration while working for it. As in, they plan to not do their jobs. So what exactly might this look like? Well, RMG then asked them specifically what they would do if Trump gave them a lawful order that they personally thought was bad policy. 64% of these federal employees planning resistance said that they would ignore the order and do what they thought was best instead. Only 17% said that they would follow it. And honestly, my first thought here is that big issue with FEMA not going to homes of Trump supporters in Florida. And then the whistleblower that put out the policy saying that this was a common policy across the country. So these numbers amount to most of the Harris voting federal employees admitting that they plan to go against policy and do whatever they want, essentially acting as part of the deep state. Now, there's something to be said for not following unconstitutional laws. I would go so far as to call it a good and admirable thing. We talk about it on the channel all the time when it comes to gun control. But the poll specified lawful orders, so one must assume, at least for the sake of argument, that constitutional falls under lawful. We might also reasonably assume, based on the political aspirations of the most vocal sections of the left, that they are not very concerned with how constitutional any given order, law, or position is. Unfortunately, they have given us plenty of evidence to think that way. Even more telling, only 23% of these Democrat federal employees thought that a bureaucrat should be fired for refusing a presidential order, while more than half of regular Americans and so-called elites said that they should be fired. This also tells you something about the disconnect between the people working in our government and everyone else. If they're telling you that they should be able to not do their job and yet keep their job, it's already way too difficult to fire government employees. Now, to really drive that point home about the discrepancy here, RMG asked all the groups what they thought the most pressing issues in America were. Both Main Street and elite Americans named the economy and immigration. A much smaller amount of federal employees picked these. Instead, they listed off things that didn't even make everyone else's list. Namely, gun control, climate change, education, equality, and cybersecurity. Again, just more proof of the disconnect between the government and most Americans. Looking at all of the media headlines that have come out since Trump was elected and has been talking about Doge, it makes sense then that these are the same people worrying about Trump coming in and firing huge amount of government workers, even going so far as to claim that he's going to be making some kind of Nazi regime of Trumpers, when an overwhelming number of those polled stated that they either plan to disobey orders and not do their job or commit anti-Trump activism outside of work while the administration is signing their paychecks, and that they'll be using our tax dollars to do this. All in all, I'm not as surprised as maybe I should be. This is another one of those instances that the part that surprises me is that they actually said it out loud. All right, folks, that is it for this video here. Hopefully you guys liked it and found it illuminating and informative. You guys know the drill for all of the algorithm things. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you are new here, drop a comment down below for the algorithm and make sure to ring that notification bell so that you know when my new videos come out. And as always, thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe out there and happy shooting.